Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Cash, and this is Weekly Recap. What is Weekly Recap? I go over my week of operating a semi-truck in the United States for 1 week, tell you all about it, break it down as much as I can. I give you the variable cost to help you put together a business plan if that's something you're interested in. If you know somebody who wants to be an owner-operator, send them this video as a inspirational, educational, whatever. I don't put these numbers out to brag. I don't put them out to complain. It just is what it is. These are numbers. Don't let it get in your feelings. I'm leased to an 80-20 split refrigerated carrier. I do not talk about the carrier. It does not benefit me in any way. Do your research. Find you a carrier that you can be happy at, like I have done, and you might have success. I'm not guaranteeing numbers on anybody or anything. This is one person's experience in operating a semi-truck. It goes vastly different for many other people. Sometimes I have good weeks, sometimes I have bad weeks. It just is what it is. This week is November 2024. We're heading home for Thanksgiving this week right here. So this is busting butt trying to get home before the holidays, and we'll go over the week. And big week here, a lot going on this week. So just hang with me. Be sure to hit that like button. If you make it to the end, be sure to become a subscriber and ring that bell so you get notified every time I put out something. I'm also on Facebook now. Go check me out on Facebook if you don't know. I'm over there now. So if you're more of a Facebook person, you can catch me over there now. All right, this week, let's talk about it. I got me a call on a good load. I said, let's book it up. Let's get it. We started out in Minnesota. I had a 1-pick Minnesota, 2 drops in Maryland, a drop in New Jersey, and a drop in Philadelphia. Woo! Oh, that's right up my alley. Most people don't like that. See, I love that because no one else wants to do these. So every time they get one of these, they call me. And I don't care because I've been to all these places before. I know how to get in. I know how to get out. That's what I would suggest. If you want to, make a name for yourself, find a broker that's got loads that nobody will do because they're difficult, and then get that money for them. That's what I would suggest. So that's what I do here. A lot of people at the carrier here, they laugh when they say the Maryland multi-drops. They're just like, who took that mess? And I'm like, I took that mess, okay? Because I know what I'm going into. I know. I mean, the places know me by name. I go there so much. So it's just what I do. Now, let's talk about it. The place I get loaded at, I got a good relationship with these people, but for some reason they actually had an appointment set on this one, which was weird. Come to find out, saved the day. Got loaded at my stop in Minnesota, where I always get loaded with these multi-stop drops, and then my truck started throwing some codes at me, and I'm like, this is my luck, okay? Finally book a big money banger, and all that dollar mile freight's caught up with me. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is what it is. I'm out here to make money in truck, and sometimes you gotta run some undesirable stuff, but I got the good stuff. This load was -10 degrees, 33,000 pounds. Like I said, 1-pick, 4 drops out on the East Coast. And that load was paying $5,400 on 1,276 all miles. I did not want to give that back. I did not want to give that back. I had just made it over to the Wisconsin line into Wisconsin. I stopped, grabbed me a fish sandwich because it was a Friday, and I got to get to that quick trip fish sandwich. Went over there, got me a fish sandwich, hopped back in the truck, turned it on. Truck was throwing some codes. She didn't have a lot of power. And so I pulled out my little code reader thing. I read some codes. I called the shop. My company has a shop. I called the shop. I said, hey, what you know about this? They said, well, those codes are either a EGR actuator or a turbo actuator. And I said, so probably not a good chance of taking this truck to the East Coast, is there? And they're like, no, I wouldn't chance that. So luckily, the carrier I'm leased on to had a truck I could borrow. It was a 2000 model Peterbilt. Woo, come on, 13 speed. big ISX Cummins. What's not to love? Uh, so I went over there. I snatched that truck up. I dropped my truck off at the shop. Um, I picked up their truck, hooked their truck to the load, and went on with it. Now, this did a couple things. Number one, it put me way behind because I lost about 3 to 4 hours of backtracking to Minnesota, unloading enough stuff out of my truck to like be able to go out on the road for a week, sleeping bag, pillow, the groceries I had in the truck. I wanted to take all that with me. Lost about 4 hours and all that. So I was trucking when I got back on the road. I'm so glad they let me borrow that truck. It was a fun experience. I like going back to the 13 speed for a couple days. I wouldn't want to go back to it all the time, but it's fun to get back in the groove of shifting gears and all that. So um, it was a fun experience. It was the turbo actuator, so my carrier took the truck to Peterbilt for me the following Monday because Peterbilt's closed on the weekend in my area. So they took the truck to Peterbilt Monday. They had all week to fix it because I wasn't going to be back till the next Friday. And it was turbo actuator. It was covered under warranty. And basically, I walked in there and said, "Hey, I'm here to pick up my truck," and they were like, "Here's your key. Have a great day." So that's like the third thing the warranty has took care of for me. So praise the Lord for that warranty at Red Oval coming in handy. So that was the big load of the week. Trucked that out there, knocked that out real quick. Everything came off really fast. The majority of that came off at one stop. It was 33,000 pounds. 20 something thousand pounds came off at one stop. So the final stop was literally like one pallet, came off really quick, and then I was gone up out of there. I got out of Philadelphia. I went over and did a load that was all Pennsylvania. This load picked up in Pennsylvania and had 2 deliveries in Pennsylvania, and it was negative 10 degrees as well. 25,000 pounds, kind of a sweetheart little week here. Honestly, these loads are like, the universe got my truck, but it really lined up some nice paying easy loads for me. So this Pennsylvania load was one pick, 2 drops in Pennsylvania, um, 64 empty miles to go over there and get it. 291 loaded miles on this one, negative 10 degrees, 25,000 pounds. It literally picked up at like 8 p.m. and the 2 drops came off like the next day. Boom, boom. Um, the first delivery was 30 miles from the pickup, and that's almost all the weight came off there. Of the 25,000 pounds, about 20 of it came off there. So this really worked out nice, especially for fuel economy. Coming through the mountains in that 13 speed, getting used to the gears, getting used to a much higher revving engine. Was taking some time to get the fuel economy right. On flat ground, it's easy to figure out. But if you guys, especially if you've been out of the swing of shifting gears for a little while, there's a lot to take into account to shift the gear. Uphill, downhill, wind, no wind. Um, you know, it's just a lot to account for when you're not used to it. 3 days in, 4 days in on the way back. I mean, hell, I was over here, just bang, bang, boom, very tight transmission in that truck. They had just put a clutch in it, and that thing was damn near a 2-footer. I mean, for my poor old weak left leg, I'll tell you what, I backed in over there in Maryland at one of them spots. It's a tough spot to back into, even in my new Peterbilt and my Freightliners. It's a hard spot to back into. It's a one pull up basically. I don't care how good you are. It's a one pull up because there's a light pole in the way. You kind of gotta maneuver and then kind of wiggle and then get in. But anyway, my poor old leg with that clutch. After I got backed in there, I couldn't hardly walk up the steps. I had noodle leg. That old left leg was noodled out, baby. So uh, I was happy for the light load there, coming back across the mountains across Pennsylvania because my downshifting ain't where it ought to be. I'll tell you right now. Hey, 13th to 12, got that, no problem. That's a no-brainer. If you can't hit that shift, hell, park her on the side of the road and start walking. But them other shifts, man, ooh, yeah. I got where I just shifted like a 9-speed there at one point when it was real light. I wasn't trying to split gears on it. If it didn't have to be split, I didn't split it. But anyway, that load went really well. I was happy about that. Kudos to me. It was breakfast burritos, and I had a case of breakfast burritos get damaged by a capstone lumper. And hey, got me a free case of burritos out of it. Hell, I ate more burritos that week. I was so sick of burritos. I will never eat another microwave burrito in my life, maybe. I mean, I was eating 3 meals a day of breakfast burrito. I mean, just garbage food. Garbage. But anyway, that was the load. 1,150 miles on that for 355 total miles. It was a nice little find. It was a good load. I was able to get to it, get it loaded that night, and basically be done with it the next morning. Didn't even tie up a full day on maybe let's say 3/4 of a day, because I got unloaded first thing in the morning, and then I had like a 300-mile drive, maybe not that much, maybe like 250, 260 to the next stop, and that was in the afternoon, and that was basically first come, first serve, and that put me in kind of like the Pittsburgh area. And let me tell you what, folks, they wouldn't a dang load nowhere near Pittsburgh coming into that Thanksgiving Day weekend from what I seen and what the carrier seen. We couldn't find nothing. It got to the point to where I was like, I might just have to deadhead back to Chicago and grab a $1,000 load back to Minnesota just to find something. Sometimes when you run these holidays and you're trying to get home for a holiday and you press it just a little too close to the holiday, if you're new to this and you're new to booking freight, I'll warn you, sometimes you're playing with fire, because it's like them load boards will have all this freight on them, and then bam, everything's gone and everybody's at home. You know what I mean? The broker has done called in. They're not coming in on Thursday. It's like you should have done been home if you wanted to be home. So, couldn't really find anything out of Pittsburgh. I was willing to go all the way. I mean, honestly, I'd deadhead home to Minnesota from there. You know what I mean? 1,000-mile deadhead. What is that to me? I've done worse. But they looked out and we found something. I had to deadhead the hell to go get it, but I didn't care because it was a damn good load. So we booked a one pick out of Michigan, one drop Minnesota load, and it was supposed to be in 42,000 pounds of beverages, protect from freeze, and mind you, it never got below freezing the whole time this load was on the trailer. I set the trailer to 45 degrees just so I said it was on, and if they, wanted a temp data thing or what, print out, I could have said, hey, it was at 45 the whole time. Ain't nothing freezing at 45 degrees. Well, I don't know. Maybe something will, but I'm not a chemist. So I know soda won't freeze at 45 degrees. So I back into the door. Number one, I show up and they say, well, this load's over on the dry side of the building. So I went around to the dry side of the building, and they said, oh, yeah, back into the door, whatever, 10 or whatever. I back in. He literally hits the trailer 2 times, and they're out there knocking on the door like, hey, come sign your paperwork. I go in. I'm like, hey, I was told this is going to be 42,000 pounds. He says, no. He said, this is 2 pallets of fruit juice. It weighs 1,000 pounds a pallet. It was literally 2,300 pounds total to run back to Minnesota. I said, hell, I text the broker. I text my dispatch that booked the load for me. I let everybody know what was going on. I sent bills of paperwork. I sent everything. And the guy at the brokerage, he was like weekend dispatch over there. He was like, well, as long as the pickup numbers match the POs on the paperwork, you're good to go. And I said, that's all I needed to hear, buddy. I said, I appreciate you. You have a great weekend, weekday, whatever the hell it was. I took off like a bat out of hell. I wasn't going to wait around for them to figure it out. You know what I mean? That ain't me. That ain't me. Might be you, but it ain't me. My conscience was clean because I told everybody what was going on. You know what I mean? I'm not here to sort out the world's problems. I'm here to truck some freight. And come to find out, that was it. That was all it was supposed to be shipped. The broker had just put 42,000 pounds on the rate con as like a generic. Hey, you can be hauling up to 42,000 pounds. And yeah, I hauled 2,000 pounds all the way from Michigan back to Minnesota. Like I care. Ask me if I care. You know what I mean? I don't think Coca-Cola's going out of business on my account. But it was a pretty damn good load. $1,700 to truck that. It was 410 empty miles. 410 empty miles to go get it. 580 on the loaded, and that's 990 total miles for $1,700. Now, it's not a bad run home load, I think. If you take all that deadhead out of it, it's not bad. But for what was there in Pennsylvania, I made more per mile throwing 400 miles of deadhead on it. Sometimes just what you got to do. So I don't know. That's the week, folks. That's what it was. Good week right here. I mean, I ate these up. Made it home for Thanksgiving. Took off a chunk of time for Thanksgiving there, and it all went well. Now let's go over the numbers. Let's go over the numbers of it. 8250. 8250 total revenue. That's me and my carrier working together to make that 8250. That is $6,600, my 80% to my business. So a damn good week. Let's talk about what we did to do it. What we had to do to make that money. 2621 all miles. That's a good week for me. That's about where I like to be. Maybe a little less, maybe like 2,500, but I ain't gonna complain because it's good revenue. 506 empty miles on the week. 506. It's crazy. 2115 loaded miles. That is 19.3% deadhead. Yeah, imagine that. Almost 20% deadhead. It don't matter though. When the money's right, the money's right. You just got a deadhead. And all miles, 314 all miles. 251 a mile is what I made. 80% of that's 251 a mile. And that's 390 a loaded mile. So damn good week going into a holiday right there. Now let's talk about expenses, okay? Oh, Mr. Pre-emissions Cummins. Thirsty. Absolute thirsty. Not too bad though. I mean, honestly, a lot of the week was ran really light. That load going out east, I did pull 34,000, 33,000 through the mountains. And really couldn't dodge toll roads there, so I had to eat little toll roads on that one. But not horrible. Or not horrible. I would say for the week, I probably averaged 7 miles per gallon on that truck. You really don't go up much past 7. I had one fill up that was like 7.3, and I think that was like 2,000 pounds in a box going across Wisconsin. You know, but you really don't drop down hard either. Because it's big power. As long as you can keep her wound tight. And that was my hardest thing of driving the 13 speed again, was remembering you can't shift at 900 RPMs like these new trucks do. You got to keep that engine wound up or you will lug it. And so that was a little bit the learning curve there, but all in all, I dig that old truck. It's got a lot of things that were going in its favor. To be that old, what a survivor. I mean, to have 1.5 million miles on a truck and it just be an absolute survivor. I mean, interior was in good shape. Most of the dash was still in. I mean, for that amount of miles, that truck was in damn good shape, I thought. But she was thirsty. That was the only negative I could say about it. She was thirsty compared to my new truck, my new Peterbilt, my Cascadia and all that, you know. To average 7 is like, you know, I mean, what are we doing? We idling all night? You know, I mean, what are we doing? 7 miles per gallon? But I did idle that truck for a few hours at night. I did not idle it a full night at all. Number one, because the fumes out of that Cummins would burn your eyes out of your head. get you know, ISX and see what I'm talking about. And honestly, I didn't want to. Yeah, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to burn my fuel mileage up anymore than I had to. I had my sleeping bag with me. It was in like the 50s at night. One night it got down in the 30s. You know, I got a little cold. I got up. I cranked the truck. Mainly, I wanted it to hold some temperature for the next day. You know, when I got up in the morning, I didn't want to be up waking up super cold. So I cranked it up. I let it run for an hour or two just to hold some temperature. And but she was thirsty. We spent almost $1,600 on diesel that week. $15.98 on diesel. That is 61 cents per mile. Now that is more fuel than I used. I'll be honest with you. When I borrow someone's truck, she comes back with a lot more fuel than she left with. That truck was on about a quarter of a tank when I left. It was about 3/4 of a tank, maybe a little less than 3/4 of a tank when I returned it. So, you know, I probably gave them 50 gallons of fuel there. So that's way higher than it really should have been. But 15.98 on diesel, 189 on reefer fuel, $0 on DEF fluid. Chalk that up as a win, I guess. $0 on parking. No scales that week. Whew. Man, I was saving money everywhere other than the damn fuel pump and tolls. $578 in tolls. It's just an American tragedy. $578 in tolls right here at the holidays. That's a PlayStation 5. Come on with it. Damn. Damn, Pennsylvania. Getting me for all that money out there. Hope they have a Merry Christmas in Pennsylvania. Because they got plenty of money. They'll throw a party out there at the PA Turnpike or to have an open bar for me. You know what I mean? They'll have a party for all the truckers that pay all them tolls every year. And they have the Cassius King Memorial Open Bar on my account. Either way. 2365 variable costs. We bring over that $6,600 and we subtract out that 2365 right there, and that's going to leave us $4,235 left to do what I have to do with. Before you start typing that comment, let me stop you real quick and say, out of that, I'm still going to have to do truck payment. I don't have a trailer payment of any kind anyway. It's part of the 20%. I got to pay insurance out of that, and I got to pay taxes. I got to pay myself. I got to pay all these other insurances. I got to pay this, that, and the other, and you know the governments in every way possible. I got to do all that. Okay, I'm not saying I don't have to do that. I'm saying $4,235 left to do what I have to do with. I have a very reasonable truck payment. I have a pretty reasonable insurance policy, and I get by. You know, um, the main thing is my business pays for everything that I need. That way I don't have to pay for it. And that's how I do it, folks. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I do much appreciate you watching the videos all the way to the end, especially. This has been a long one. Thanks everybody for listening to my musings and my ramblings. Take care of each other out there, and remember, people are more important than trucking. Quick, I just want to remind everybody about the Mudflap app. If you're not using Mudflap, check it out, download it. It should be part of your fueling program. It's a free app. Go download it from the Apple or Android store. You sign up using credit card or bank account. No credit checks, nothing like that. No fuel card needed. Get yourself huge discounts on fuel. I buy about half of my fuel through it right now. It's an amazing free app. It's 100% legit. Sign up using my promo code there, and I'll get $10 in free fuel. You'll get $10 in free fuel. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. How important is Wi-Fi? Very important. That's why I use Nomad Internet in my truck. Yes, sir. This is a Wi-Fi modem that you put in your truck. Check them out. Links below. This thing gets signal when my phone will not. So if you're ever stuck at that truck stop with no signal, you'll wish you had some Nomad in your truck.